Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. LA police officers recently made a surprising bust. This shop looks like a normal pizzeria on the outside, but people inside were cooking up something completely different. While the state's drought conditions have been lifted thanks to the winter storms, farmers say there are still other water-related concerns that need attention. Railroad companies are suing California. They argue the state's zero-emission regulations are currently impossible to meet. In a Northern California pizzeria, something has been cooking for quite some time, but not your typical slices of cheese pizza. What LAPD officers discovered recently has caught the entire neighborhood by surprise.
Pizza is widely adored as one of our favorite foods, but one shop's appeal quickly fades when illegal operations unfold behind closed doors, leaving a sour taste in our mouths. LAPD officers raided what looked to be a pizza shop located next to an animal hospital in the 7300 block of Radford Avenue in North Hollywood. But instead of pizza pies, the officials found what they described as a super lab where illegal THC concentrate was produced. A local resident told me she has been long suspicious of the store since it was always closed and no one could be seen coming in or out.
You can never smell pizza either, by the way. Just because the building was recently done that way, it just looked too secure for, an industrial area like ours.
How long do you think it has been running as a fake pizza shop?
I would probably say since they've been here, which is probably a couple of years at least.
Pictures posted by the LAPD on Thursday and Friday show vats that were used to make cannabis honey oil. Images show several food trays containing what appeared to be shatter, a glass-like THC concentrate. One LAPD officer posed while holding an empty cardboard pizza box that read, "Hot and fresh pizza." The LAPD did not disclose if any arrests were made. Little did this neighborhood know that this warehouse was cooking up a recipe for disaster. Unfortunately, this pizzeria won't be making any hot deliveries anytime soon. Christina Corona, NTD News, North Hollywood.
In tragic news, hikers found the human remains on Saturday near Southern California's Mount Baldy. This is the same area where actor Julian Sands disappeared 5 months ago.
The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department said a body was discovered around 10 a.m. on June 24th near Mount Baldy. The body has since been transported to the coroner's office for identification next week. However, the body was discovered near the area where English actor Julian Sands was reported missing on January 13th. After he had set out on his hike, the region was pounded by severe snowstorms. On Friday, his family released their first statement since Sands' disappearance, saying, "We continue to hold Julian in our hearts with bright memories of him as a wonderful father, husband, explorer, lover of the natural world and the arts, and as an original and collaborative performer." Authorities said the most recent search for Sands on June 17th was unsuccessful. It was the 8th organized search since his disappearance.
An announcement made by California Attorney General Rob Bonta says that he is cracking down on organized retail crime with an agreement between businesses and law enforcement. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced a new collaboration to help stop organized retail crime in the state.
Organized retail crime will not be tolerated, not by business, not by law enforcement, not by me.
A press release issued by Bonta's office states that 12 retailers and online companies signed an agreement to work together with law enforcement and take specific actions to help address the growing issue. Oftentimes, stolen goods are sold on online sites like eBay and Etsy. Several of these companies agreed to train their staff on how to spot suspicious behavior and report it, while also collaborating with brick-and-mortar retailers and law enforcement. The Attorney General's office defines organized retail theft as, quote, organized criminal rings that steal property with the intent to sell and distribute or return stolen merchandise for value.
Regardless of how goods are stolen, and there are many ways, be it from a warehouse, a storefront, a train, or the back of a truck, or how they're peddled, whether they're returned for profit, which often happens, or resold on third-party sites.
The press release also said that according to a 2020 survey, retailers in the country lose about $700,000 to organized retail theft per every $1 billion in sales. Bonta's office is also encouraging the public to report any suspicious items they see for sale online or other retail crime tips through its website. Jason Blair, Entity News, California.
California's winter storms may have brought drought relief, but other issues still need addressing. This includes water storage, flooded land, and state-mandated restrictions on pumping water for irrigation. Here's more.
According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and Climate Prediction Center, 95% of the California state now reported to be out of drought thanks to the winter storms. However, water experts say there is far more work ahead to prepare for future dry years. Darcy Burke, board director of Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, told the Epoch Times that this one wet winter was not able to recharge the groundwater basins, and over 26 million acre-feet of water had to be released into the ocean because the reservoirs are full. According to the California Department of Water Resources, aging facilities made water storage and moving it through pipelines, canals, or ferries inefficient. But some say the winter's water was not stored because it was flushed to the ocean to help replenish some endangered fish species. Don Jackson, an almond farmer and a water board member of Kern County, said on Epic TV's California Insider, quote, "It's a political problem. We're flushing all the water out instead of sending it to the people, which the aqueduct system was built for. While the rainfall eased the drought, it also flooded land. Many dairy farmers were left with no place for their livestock." On the other hand, some local farmers have expressed concern over state-mandated restrictions on pumping water for irrigation. Such restrictions have led many of the farmers to let their land go idle during the growing season because they can't make ends meet.
CAL FIRE will be suspending burn permits in 4 Northern California counties as the fire danger worsens. There is an interactive map that allows residents to find out if they're within the burn area.
CAL FIRE announced on Tuesday it will be suspending burn permits in 4 Northern California counties since there is more dead grass and the weather is getting hotter. All burn permits will stop for outdoor residential burning within the state responsibility area of Nevada, Yuba, Placer, and Sierra counties starting June 26 at 8 a.m. The agency said it has responded to over 1,600 wildfires since the beginning of the year. Those fires have burned over 4,200 acres. Residents can input their addresses to an interactive map to find out if they are within the state responsibility area. However, if there is an essential reason to burn, the department can issue a restricted temporary burning permit. This includes agriculture, land management, fire training, and other industrial-type burning.
California's new environmental rules for 2030 have prompted the railroad industry to sue. They argue that the zero-emission locomotives are untested and therefore won't be ready by that time.
The railroad industry sued California on June 16th to block the state from enforcing new environmental protection regulations. The state's latest regulation would ban locomotives over 23 years old starting in 2030. According to the Associated Press, this would force railroads to set aside over $1 billion per year just to purchase replacements. In an effort to stop this law, the railroad industry filed a lawsuit in federal court. They say that zero-emission locomotives are untested and therefore won't be ready by 2030. The Association of American Railroads say, quote, "Railroads are working towards reliable, efficient zero-emission technologies. However, they cannot simply be willed into immediate existence by policymakers." The lawsuit says that the California Air Resources Board does not have the authority to issue new rules, since railroads cross 49 states. On the other hand, regulators are saying that since locomotives are one of the major contributors to emission problems, they should be regulated. Adrian Martinez, a lawyer with the environmental nonprofit Earth Justice, called the fate of the California rule, quote, a matter of life and death. Now, according to the lawsuit, about 25,000 diesel-powered locomotives would need to be moved across the country before their zero-emission replacements are ready.
We'll be taking a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. A 13-year-old is suing her doctors for cross-sex surgery. We'll have more on her story and lawsuit. California is ranked as the most expensive state for renting. A recent study found that a one-bedroom house would require a salary of at least $71,000. And a pair of bald eagles in Northern California have seemingly adopted a baby hawk. The young bird was first spotted in their nest last month. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. Layla Jane was just 13 years old when her breasts were removed in California in a cross-sex procedure. Now she's suing the doctors who permanently disfigured her. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with attorney Mark Trammell on the lawsuit against Permanente Medical Group and Kaiser Foundation Hospitals.
The plaintiff in the lawsuit is Layla Jane. Layla is a young woman who had a lot of mental health issues as a child and adolescent.
I experienced suicidal ideation from a really young age, like first grade, ever since I understood the concept of death.
Having seen stories of famous transgender people like Caitlyn Jenner online, Layla decided to visit a therapist at a transgender clinic. It wasn't long before she ended up under the so-called care of Dr. Watson, Dr. Taylor, and Dr. Tong between the ages of 12 and 13.
One of the doctors, one of the defendants in this lawsuit, conducted a 75-minute psychiatric evaluation on Layla before determining that, yes, she's transgender and should receive this course of treatment.
Trammell says it took just 6 months from Layla's first appointment to putting her under the scalpel.
So they told her parents, you have a choice. You can have a dead daughter or a live son. And it is a false dilemma. It presents this idea that your child will commit suicide. It is a foregone conclusion if you do not put them on cross-sex hormones, if you do not operate. When we see the science is actually, it tells the opposite story. So we know that 80 to 90% of these kids are going to age out of gender dysphoria, and that suicide is not going to be resolved by surgery. This surgery is certainly no salvation for these kids.
Layla says little attention was paid to her mental health.
I had nobody else looking at the mental side of things. I didn't have consistent therapy with the local therapist. That wasn't required, so I just didn't do it.
The lawsuit says Layla was the child victim of ideological and profit-driven medical abuse.
If the pharmaceutical companies are able to have a child on testosterone or puberty blockers at the age of 13, they're going to be on those drugs for the rest of their lives. So there's a lot of financial incentive for this stuff to happen.
It further states that Layla was put on drugs like Lupron that are not FDA approved as a hormone treatment for kids with alleged gender dysphoria.
We don't allow a 12-year-old to buy a cigarette or to even enter an R-rated movie. But we have doctors at Kaiser who are handing them their prescription pads and letting them have double mastectomies and go on Lupron and testosterone.
Apart from permanent disfigurement, Layla also has a deeper voice, excessive growth of body hair, as well as other side effects of the testosterone given to her at just 12 years old. Whether she'll ever be able to have kids is unknown.
Layla and so many other kids who have been through a similar experience are really, I think, being treated like human guinea pigs.
The Dillon Law Group and Lamandry and Jana LLP filed the lawsuit in conjunction with the Center for American Liberty.
When Layla wins her lawsuit and they're awarded damages, I think hospitals are going to reconsider this type of, barbaric treatment that they're administering on children.
NTD reached out to Permanente Medical Group and Kaiser Foundation Hospitals, but did not receive a response by broadcast time. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Huntington Beach Mayor Pro Tem is making claims that there are obscene books available to children in the city libraries. She's asking the council for its consideration to screen such books. Here's the story.
Huntington Beach Mayor Pro Tem Gracie Vandermark has asked the City Council to consider screening children's books in an upcoming City Council meeting. She claims there are, quote, obscene and pornographic children's books in the city libraries.
Protect kids from this. Parents, check these books out. If this is what you want for your kids, go for it. But a lot of parents don't know this material is in these books. A lot of parents don't know these books are in the library. I know this because I've been doing this for 6 years. When I tell people there is a book in there that teaches children how to fist safely, play with blood, urine, they said I was crazy and I was a conspiracy theorist. They never imagined it was in our schools. They never imagined it was in our libraries, but it was.
In 2020, Vandermark says she discovered a book called Genderqueer in the teen section of her local library. She says the memoir recounted the author's exploration of sexuality from adolescence onward and visually depicted characters using inappropriate content. Vandermark told the Epic Times that she would like to see safeguards in place. She says, quote, I don't want to infringe on anybody's First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, or the right to have access to these books. It's starting the process of coming up with ideas of how to make our libraries safer for our youth. Huntington Beach currently has 5 public libraries. Councilman Pat Burns told the Epic Times in an email that he supports the ordinance. The other 5 council members were not immediately available for comment. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
California is ranked as the most expensive state in America to rent in according to a recent report by the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. At fair market renting costs, a person would need a salary of $71,000 a year to afford renting a one-bedroom house. NTD's Jason Blair has more on the findings.
According to a report released by the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, California ranks number 1 in the U.S. for the most expensive state to rent housing. To afford a 2-bedroom house at the current fair market rent in the state, someone would need to earn $42.25 an hour, or about $88,000 a year. For a 1-bedroom, someone would need $34.10 an hour, or about $71,000 a year. Or if someone was making the current state minimum wage of $15.50 an hour, they would need to work 109 hours a week to afford a 2-bedroom rental, or $88 a week to afford a 1-bedroom. This is using a ratio of earning 3 times more a month than the cost of rent, which according to Rent Prep is a standard preference among most U.S. landlords. The 3 most expensive areas in the state are Santa Cruz County, San Francisco, and Santa Clara County. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
California's annual competition to name the world's ugliest dog is back. This year's winner has deformed hind legs, but that didn't stop him from scooting his way to the #1 spot. Let's take a look. The world's ugliest dog competition returned to Petaluma, California on June 23rd, the National Take Your Dog to Work Day. This year, a 7-year-old hairless Chinese crested dog named Scooter claimed the title as the world's ugliest dog.
I did. It was Scooter. It was absolutely Scooter, but it was tough to come to that conclusion. I mean, I think it was like, just the scooting on those front legs and just the shaking and all of it. Scooter is just amazing and deserved the win for sure.
Kind of Harold Bartholomew. I like the snot bubbles.
We liked Harold, but Scooter was it? I get why they grabbed Scooter.
Yeah,
he had it all going on.
He did.
Yeah, he was darling.
Scooter was followed by Wild Thing, a 7-year-old Pekingese who won 2nd place. And 3rd place went to a Chihuahua named Harold.
This is Harold Bartholomew. He's a at least 17-year-old Chihuahua, a little rescue. He was actually dumped in a park, and he was supposed to be like on hospice. They didn't think he was going to last long, and I adopted him, and I've had him for close to 2 years now. No, he has no teeth.
No teeth.
So that's why his little tongue hangs out. But yeah, no history. He was just dumped in a park. So an animal control picked him up. It's huge, just being able to put it out there that, you don't have to get an adorable little puppy. These guys have so much love to give.
Each year, the event draws hundreds of pet fans to the fair. According to the event website, this competition has been going on for nearly 50 years and is a way to raise awareness and support for the pets that have yet to find a forever home. A strange raptor family in Northern California. A pair of bald eagles appears to have adopted a hawk. The baby red-tailed hawk was spotted in the eagle's nest in the Bay Area last month. A photographer captured the incredible moment that the eagle brought the hawklet into its nest, likely as prey. Then another wildlife photographer began making weekly trips to the nest, capturing how the bald eagles appear to be feeding and caring for the hawklet along with their own eaglet. The eaglet has been named Lola, and the hawklet is being called Tuffy 2. The nest's location has not been disclosed for the bird's safety. Now let's check in with NTD's Tyler Castile for our sports roundup. We have some hockey updates for you.
Thank you, David. I'm Tyler Castillo taking you through California Today's Sports Roundup.
Last week, I talked about the tease that the San Jose Sharks hinted at for Patrick Marleau's new role with the team. And big news, today I'm here to officially announce that Patrick Marleau has been hired as a player development coach and hockey operations advisor for the Sharks. It was only a matter of time before Patrick Marleau had a front office job, and we will see him in the new role during this year's draft. Congratulations to Mr. San Jose Shark. Today, the National Hockey League is hosting the NHL Awards, where San Jose Sharks defenseman Erik Karlsson is a finalist for the James Norris Trophy and the Ted Lindsay Award. The James Norris Trophy is an annual award given to the defense player who demonstrates throughout the season the greatest all-around ability in the position. Basically, best defense and best offense at defense. According to the NHL, the trophy was presented to the NHL in 1953 by the 4 children of the late James E. Norris in memory of their father. As for the Ted Lindsay Award, it goes to the most outstanding player in the NHL, as voted by fellow members of the NHL's Players Association. After the awards, this Wednesday is the NHL Draft, where the Anaheim Ducks have the 2nd overall pick and the San Jose Sharks have the 4th overall pick in the first round. Then Thursday will be rounds 2 through 7 of the NHL Draft, where the LA Kings, Anaheim Ducks, and the San Jose Sharks all prepare to draft in the future. Stay tuned, California.
And that's all for today's Sports Roundup. I'm Tyler Castillo. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Tyler. That's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Gunjin World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.